It's going to be cliche, but let's start on a really simple note so you know where I'm headed with this. We all know the expression, is that glass half empty or half full? At the root of that expression is a really fundamental question. Do you choose to look at things negatively, half empty, or positively, half full? And imagine for a minute if that glass is exactly half full or half empty. Then it truly would be a choice on how you want to perceive things, positively or negatively. And it would mean something else also. That there is no right answer. Just how you choose to take it. Your perception and is versus mine is could be completely different and completely relative to what's going on in our life. And that's really what today's episode's all about, because whatever your situation is with life, love, career, friendships, family, there's always a truth. And the reality of that truth is always important. You can't ignore it, and I'm not suggesting you do. But there's also our perception. And when it comes to struggle, perception is important. Welcome to episode 8 of season 2024 of the No Bad Karma podcast, where I talk about living and loving intentionally. And what I want to talk about today is how you can intentionally take something like struggle and turn it into something more positive. And I'm going to talk about it, something more positive. I'll label it as manifesting change. That's what I'm trying to say there. So let's just keep it light for a minute, because it's always fun to start light, right? And we all know Flo from the Progressive Insurance commercial. And there's a newer commercial. It's called Unknown Gems. And it opens with Flo, and this guy looks like he should be in the mountains or out in the wilderness, standing there looking out in this beautiful scene of a lake surrounded by mountains. And the guy says, "Wow, incredible, isn't it?" And from the camera angle, the perspective, it gives you the impression that they're standing there alone, talking about the beauty of this place. And the guy says, "I just hope it stays this way." And then you hear a girl's voice that says, "Are you done?" And the camera opens up, and you see how there's a bunch of people behind her. Looks like they're camping. And there's this 20-something girl holding a selfie stick and says, "Hey fam, I'm at this beautiful lake I just discovered, practicing gratitude, manifesting abundance." So I love that commercial because it's like a quadruple dose of perspective, from the opening scene to the interruption to the people behind her, and then how she's portraying herself to others with the selfie stick, right? There's a lot of hidden things going on in there, buried things. And then I like how they go on and make light humor what she says about practicing gratitude, manifesting abundance. You know, they're really making light of that whole manifesting mindset. Don't get me wrong, I completely believe in the manifesting mindset, but I love how they make fun of it, because she's really presenting it as something so easy. And, it's trendy. That's why they're doing the commercial. And I pointed out that commercial to my partner, someone who I would definitely say believes in the manifesting mindset and teaches me a lot about it. And she laughed because she immediately got it, right? So today's episode is called The Struggle is Real / Manifesting Change / Deleting Your Apps. Because obviously what I'm trying to point out here is something we all like to bitch about. The struggle is really an opportunity to manifest change. So in other words, how do you want to view your situation? As a struggle or as an opportunity to change? So there's really 3 things I want to talk about. I already mentioned the struggle being real. 2, manifesting change. In the commercial, they talked about manifesting abundance. We can call it manifesting abundance, but I'm really just talking about manifesting change. And then 3, deleting your apps, which seems completely, random compared to the other two, but I'll make the point there. But first, let's talk about the struggle being real, because if you're going to talk about the struggle, you need to first define it, right? What is struggle? And if you've listened to the podcast before, then you know what I say. Struggle is real, but struggle can also be relative. So let's just talk about what I mean by real. And we can talk about one of my favorite humans that ever walked the earth. I've talked about him before, Maslow. He said, humans have this hierarchy of needs. The first need, food and water, shelter. Very real, right? Homelessness, all-time high. Food scarcity in the U.S., like first world country, right? All-time high. Cost of groceries, ridiculous. So you think that basic need manifests itself in today's world as the need for money, but really that's the second step. The real point of that first step is we all got to eat. We all got to have a roof over our head, no matter how we get it. The second level of needs is safety, and that's where money comes up, because if you need money, you need a job, and that's safety, that's employment, right? Third thing Maslow says we need is love and belonging, friends, family, intimacy, sense of connection, belonging to organizations. And the fourth, Maslow talks about respect, freedom, recognition. Think about recognition at your job, freedom to make decisions you want, respect from others, your partner. The fifth, self-actualization, being the most you can be, right? Reaching for the stars. So just by going through that, right, it shows how struggle can be real a lot of different ways, but also how it's really relative, right? The person struggling, there's somebody out there struggling for recognition or to be all they can be, and there's somebody else out there struggling to eat. So if you assume for a second that everything Maslow says is 100% accurate, then struggling for any one of those needs, the most basic need, food, to looking for a job, to finding a partner, which intimacy shows up on that third level, but sex is a basic need, interesting enough. So now you have a job and a partner and you're starting a family. But, you're looking for recognition at work, right? Or maybe your family and spouse are just the best and you want to be everything you can be and you want to go off and chase that dream, start that business, retire, travel the world, whatever it is. Right? At every one of those steps can be a struggle. At the most basic level, you might be going to a food pantry. Or you might have a job, but maybe it doesn't pay enough and you're still struggling for safety. And you need a promotion, you need a different job. You could be dating for years before you can find somebody that you have the chemistry with to be a partner and have intimacy with at that next level. Go up that next level. Maybe your wife and employer don't appreciate you the way you need. And, you hate work every day and you want to leave. Your marriage frustrates you and you're thinking about cheating. Some people spend their whole life going to that next level, chasing their dreams. The point is, there can be a very real struggle at each of those steps. And the person struggling for self-actualization, well, maybe it's their dream to publish a novel, teach at a university, become a CEO, start a .com. They're dealing with very real struggles for that stage in their life. And the simple fact that there are people struggling at each stage automatically makes struggle relative, right? But does that mean the guy struggling for a promotion at work or affection from his spouse or self-actualization has it as hard struggling for food? So 2 quick stories. First one, super quick. I was out shopping an Instacart order. Deb broke myself. Instacarting my way to Toledo that day. I'm driving out of the retail shopping complex, and there's a woman with her son, about 8 years old, with a sign that says something like, "Anything helps." Funny thing is, she looked like she should have just got off work in an office. Her kid looked like she just got out of school. School's not in right now, but not the people I would expect with a sign for "Anything helps." I'm from the great city of Toledo, Ohio, and walking around West Toledo the last several years was this guy. I believe his name's Mr. Aman. I'll find the link and post it in the description. And Mr. Aman was this guy who would always be dressed up in a suit or sport coat walking around town. He'd have a fedora. He used to carry a briefcase. He'd always stop at the McDonald's, the Taco Bell. You'd see him at the library. It's called the Sanger branch of the Toledo library system. If it was a Monday and you'd run into him, he'd say, "Magnificent, marvelous Monday to you." And if he asked you your name and you said your name was Sam, he'd say, "Sam. S is for studious, A is for awesome, and M is for marvelous." The first time you encountered Mr. Aman, you might think, you had to be concerned, but as soon as you got talking to him, you'd know. People would say hello to him, so you knew he was safe. And rumor had it that he was a retired professor because of the way he was dressed. He looked like a professor from the university, and maybe it slipped a little. Well, he passed away recently, and they did a special on him on the news, and that story was a little accurate. Because when the local news did that story, they revealed that he had been a grad student there, and it sounded like he was at least a teaching assistant, maybe became an instructor afterwards, not a tenured professor or anything, but he lost his job. And when he lost his job, he kind of lost it. So it doesn't matter if you're sitting there with 6 figures in a retirement account or if you're 6 figures in debt. We're all human beings. We all have or will experience a struggle at some point in our lives. And, I pray for you it's not serious. I pray for you it's not devastating. I pray for you that it doesn't go on for days or weeks or months or years. And I pray for you it doesn't involve holding a sign. Those needs, as Maslow defined them, they're in a pyramid. Those most basic needs are at the bottom, the biggest layer of the pyramid, right? The bottom of the pyramid is the biggest part. The next ones are the layer up, and so on and so forth. Now, why do you think that is? What do you think that means? Well, earlier I asked rhetorically, is a person struggling for affection for their spouse or recognition at work? Are they struggling as hard as a person looking to eat? Well, their struggle may just be as important to them as that other person's struggle. But the bottom line is that that layer on the bottom, right, that reflects the importance of the struggle on the human condition, the risk, right? It's bigger because it affects all of us on the most basic level. It's the most important until you get to the next level. Because you can't get to that next level fully and completely until you get those first things taken care of. Look at Mr. Aman. He was well above level 1, level 2, level 3. He's probably struggling for recognition at work, and he lost his job, and it sent him down that pyramid. He'd been living in a church, I think, the last 12 years. But there's something else that makes our struggles relative, not just where we are on the pyramid, but our attitude towards them when we're going through them. Because let's talk about that for a minute. When something unexpected happens, do you automatically think it's bad? Is it just another bad thing to add to the list? Do you spend more time being mad or upset than being happy? It all goes back to that half full or half empty cliche, right? Because no matter what happens, our attitude towards it can have life-changing consequences. And that brings me to manifesting change. Because if you go back to that Progressive commercial and the girl in the commercial says, "Hey fam, I'm just here at this," when she says, I'm just here at this lake, I discovered practicing gratitude, manifesting abundance. Well, her simple, cheery attitude makes light of how easy that, makes light of the whole manifesting abundance attitude. It makes it sound like it should be easy. Yet I can tell you, if you've never known anyone that believes in that, they'll laugh because they know it's not easy. It is, but it's not. It becomes easy, right? Because I'm no expert on manifesting abundance, but if I were to tell you I had the secret to making it work and guarantee you it could work, and you believe me and you knew that was true, then I'd sell 1,000 of those secrets for $10 a piece, or maybe I'd sell 10,000 for 100 a piece. You see what I did there? Here's the secret. What do you want? How do you want to live your existence in the time you have on this planet? Because nothing about your situation will change until you decide what you want. Manifesting change won't start until you decide what you want. And be specific. What do you want your life to look like? When? I want to say grounded in reality a little bit to make your goals achievable, but really, don't even worry about that. Just don't be unrealistic, like wanting to be the King of England's entirely unrealistic unless you're already in the line of succession. I don't think my listeners include the royals. Unless you got really something special planned, you're probably not going to be the richest person in the country or a top 10 billionaire or anything like that. In fact, there were 53 heirs last year that inherited 150 billion and 84 self-made billionaires, and they only accounted for 140 billion. So unless you're one of the, being part of a family is going to be your best chance there. So really, it's not about being grounded in reality as much as defining something you want that's not unrealistic. And when you pursue what you want, you will find you will define your reality. Because the reality of your situation is just what it is now. But if you stop and think about the reality of your situation, whatever it is, you'll find yourself thinking about what has already happened. Because we're already thinking about what got us to now instead of thinking about what can be. When really the reality is just what it is now. But like I'm saying, you're thinking about what got you there. You're in the negative headspace. But what can you do with that? Because what already happened, whether good or bad, is something to be thankful for. And that's practicing gratitude. Put your any prejudice you have about faith away for a minute. And let me tell you a story about Christians and how they practice gratitude and manifest abundance. Because in the church world, there's this thing called tithing. It means you give 10% of what is yours. Today, we call that your take-home paycheck to the church. Now, back in the day, churches would even have stewardship committees that would meet with families of the congregation about their giving, ask them to give more, maybe to a special project, etc. Maybe have them put something in their will about their wealth and giving part of it to the church afterwards. Well, today, most small traditional churches will just hope for whatever they can get. The bigger churches will still encourage it at least once a year. In fact, there's a designated Sunday on the church calendars for that, and that's no joke. The mega churches will do it also. they usually wrap it around some label like charter member, missional member, funding elders, one I heard one time. It usually includes some kind of adult baptism at their church or somewhere where they recognize it, somewhere else where that church will recognize, knowing they've made an expression of their faith as an adult. But then they encourage you to make that expression of faith financially and encourage you to tithe. So here's the thing. These people will get up and tell stories about maybe how they were lost, joined the church, found direction in their life, start tithing, and how their life changed. Or even better, some of these people will say, we had one car, it died. We were facing a repair bill of $1,000. We had just started tithing a month earlier. And then one day the mechanic called and said, pick up your car. It's fixed. You don't owe me anything. Because someone had come in the shop and taken care of it. Or they came home from work, got the mail, and there was some check they weren't expecting. But the funny thing is, I knew some of the people that this happened to. It really happened. Now, the pessimist in me always wonders if at least some of these are scripted behind the scenes. In other words, someone in the church knew about the situation and took care of it, getting some good feedback for the organization out of it. But then one day I realized, well, even if that is the case, isn't that the point? People coming together to take care of each other, to get through the struggle that's very real. Some ultimate pay it forward examples along the way. And how does that explain a check from a completely random third party that you weren't expecting? Or a call about a job when you needed it most? See, the strength of their faith, the way they practice their gratitude financially for the church, whatever it was. I'm not saying you should go out and do that. I'm saying they committed to something that they believed in, and they manifested their abundance one way or another. It worked out. And that's really the point. Right? I'll tell you another way, and again, I'm saying put away your prejudices for a minute, because faith in the church shows up other ways also. And I just read this morning, and I can't help but incorporate it, because I just read about how the Pope's going to, I think the term's beatify, make a saint of a 15-year-old computer whiz kid who died of leukemia. He's going to become the patron saint of the internet. And there's not a joke on that. That's true. And to become a saint, there needs to be 2 verified miracles, by the Catholic Church standards. And the second miracle that was attributed to this kid was that a woman who I believe had severe head trauma visited his grave, prayed to him, and found herself healed. Now, it's not for us to judge whether this happened or not, because obviously somebody's declared her healed. And according to saint standards, the church gives WizKid a gold star. So whatever the reason, whatever the cause, whatever the universe brought to her, isn't for us to judge. But the interesting thing is it shows how this woman, for example, practiced her gratitude and faith, how she committed, and she was healed for whatever reason. I know it sounds woo-woo, because when you go back to that commercial and you think of that girl who lightly says, practicing gratitude, manifesting abundance in the lighthearted way. Well, the funny thing is, when you start doing that, that's how you feel. But like I said, even when that gets it laughs, because change and growth is hard and painful. And even when it's something you want that happens, right? And even when it's something you want that happens, it can sometimes be harder and more painful than you expected. But that doesn't mean it's bad, unless you want to perceive it that way. And another struggle will occur, because that's life, which brings us back full circle to the struggle. Because every struggle that occurs, you can view as something bad that continues to define you. or use it as an opportunity to manifest change. So the third thing I wanted to mention was deleting your apps. And you'd say, what's that have to do with deleting your apps? Well, I'll talk about my personal story of manifesting change, which most of you know, but I'm going to hit it quickly, top to bottom, because I manifested the relationship I wanted. I became single in May 2020. I started dating right away because it was COVID and I had no friends, and I was really just looking for human interaction first and foremost. I knew the energy I wanted to bring to a relationship, and I had the energy I wanted someone else to bring, right? But it wasn't essential. I just needed human interaction. It's just platonic human interaction, right? And you find yourself hanging out with people that you know aren't going to be long term. So after a year of that, I only wanted to date for a partner. And I even spoke about my passion in an episode back in 21, I remember. And I finally, found a partner, I thought, and that blew up quickly. And I spoke about that, right? But I spent as much time off dating apps as I did on, because I knew what I was looking for. There was a personality and a dynamic I needed in a relationship and with a person I was with. Because that's what I knew was healthy for me and the best environment for me and would give me the best opportunity to be healthy for someone else. I spent a total of 3 years looking for that. From May 2020 to June 2023. So May 2023 rolls around, just over a year ago, right before I met my partner, and I started again. And during those 3 years, I just kept putting together a more and more honest dating profile, right? This is the life I want with my partner. This is who I am. This is what I'm looking for. This is what I want our life to be. And by the end of the first month, I thought I met someone, but I knew by the second date it wasn't right, because I just knew to trust my gut and head and heart, and it wasn't aligned. And even trying to keep a little bit of an open mind about it sent me into another world. So I ended that, and I resubscribed to the site I was on, put my dating profile back on. And after about 48 hours, I get this message. I read your profile. I'm what you want. And I think you're what I want. So that is my now partner, Adele. In those 2 years of dating, I learned, 3 years of dating, right? I learned I was most comfortable and I felt most compatible with a 30-something crowd. Right? I'm just at a different place than a lot of people my own age, having been forced to rebuild my life. I'm at a place where people that age are. My life was put on hold for several years. And, I want to get back to living. And while it's been a struggle, and it took me a long time as an opportunity to manifest change, I changed my tune in 2021 and realized that having nothing was the opportunity to gain everything. I could suffer and wallow in my past, my past loss with my family as I knew it, my marriage, my past business issues that came all about because of that. Or I could look forward to new opportunities that it all presented. I could have viewed my life as over or starting over. Doesn't mean the things I had in my past were any less important anymore. Doesn't mean that they're over or anything like that. I mean, obviously, some continue in the present. Like my marriage is over, but my relationship with my daughter continues. And that's stronger than ever. You see, that's because she and I are committed to it. She wants a dad and I want my daughter. Just like I wanted a relationship. And I realized as a single man that the people I found myself most compatible with might want to start a family. And I had an opportunity to do that again. Just because I was divorced didn't mean I didn't like being a partner. And like I just said, I'm still a dad. That's the best thing in my life. Why wouldn't I want to consider that again? Now, it might not be for everyone my age, but those were things that I was embracing the opportunity to do again. And now, a year after meeting my partner, we're in the second trimester of our pregnancy, building a family and planning to spend the rest of our mutual days together. She and I were intent on finding our partners. And we did. And at the end of that first date, Adele said to me, "You can delete your dating apps if you want." And I did. Because I knew I met the right person and we would build what we wanted for our life together as partners. We have, do, and will. We are right now. You also know before this episode, I did 4 episodes on Instacarting for survival, or as I like to call it, thrivival, right? And in those episodes, I said I was going to talk about the struggle being real because, I was out there doing it, survival, for some of those things on the first level. Food. You can struggle at more than one level at a time. I had bills to pay. The average Instacart driver only makes about $36,000 a year. There's 250 work days in a year if you work 5 days a week. So that means they'd make $144 on an average day. Now that's doable as an Instacart driver if you pick the right days. That's $3,000 a month. You're also going to be out there pretty much all day. It's your job. So the thing is, whatever you're doing at any point in time in your life takes time and takes you away from something else. That's called opportunity cost. So for me, Instacart, like I said, it served a purpose. It bought Christmas gifts. I Instacarted to see my daughter to New Jersey and back once, from Pittsburgh to Toledo and back a couple of times, kept a couple of bills from bouncing, bought Valentine's Day dinner for my partner, food for my dog several times. But I also talked about thriving, and I used that income to cover some things to keep my businesses going, business expenses. And during that time, you know what happened? I had new business come in. In fact, one day I was itching to get out there to Instacart, but I realized it had been a while since I'd put out a business post. And so I'd started one day or two before, and I thought, I got to finish this before I head out. So I'm doing my final proof on it. I turn my Instacart app on, getting ready to put this post out on LinkedIn, head out the door. And the phone rings. Had a name on it, didn't recognize it, but I answered it. A person's name, not a business name even. But it was somebody calling on behalf of a client that I'd make a couple of $1,000 off over the next month or so, keeping me off the road from Instacarting. So there's kind of 2 things with that, right? Sometimes you got to do the work to keep things going, no matter what that work is. But I kept focused on the change I wanted. And you have to keep focus on the change you want. And slow but sure, it will start to occur. But manifesting that change is not always easy, and it's not without risk. You have to know when to trust your heart, head, and gut all at the same time, and then you know when it's time to delete your apps. Whether they're a dating app or your Instacart shopper app. So I just told you how I manifested the relationship of my dreams through constantly dating and being very specific about what I wanted to find. Interesting thing is, my partner just did a post on her Instagram about a year ago. She put together a vision board for what she wanted in her relationship and life, and everything is in there, right? Listen to what else happened to me in there in these 6 months of Instacarting I've been doing. I needed a car. Turned out my partner's best friend and her husband had one and helped me acquire it. I was about $1,200 or $1,300 short on some bills I needed to pay about a month ago. And out of the blue, and I'm not going to church every Sunday. In fact, I haven't been to church since Easter. Out of the blue, I get a settlement check in the mail for about $1,100, just a couple hundred short of what I needed. It was a settlement from an old loan I had. I had no idea I was going to be getting this check in the mail. Completely legitimate. Right when I needed it. Here's the bottom line. The struggle's real. Doesn't matter where you are in life, what you're doing in your life, you're going to experience struggle. And almost any struggle most people automatically think of is going to be financial related on some level. But if it's financial, be thankful it's only financial and not something worse. Be thankful for what you have. The sad truth is there's always someone out there sharing your struggle or struggling on a different level that could maybe lower than yours or struggling harder than you, as much as you hate to think it. But just like the struggle is real, so is the opportunity for change. Why, for the love of God, do you want to continue to struggle? But you have to commit to it. You have to delete your apps. And it may mean physically deleting your apps, because that may be what is required to show commitment when dating, for example. But deleting your apps, that's what deleting your apps represents. Commitment, whether an app's involved or not. Committing to something, someone, but most importantly, committing to manifesting change, the change you want. But you do have to stop thinking it's going to come easy. It may or it may not. But once you are in the grind, you're going to get that. And you're going to find yourself talking like the girl in the Progressive commercial. You're not going to give your choices a purpose bigger than yourself until you delete your apps. See you soon.